G'day guys, welcome to Van Diemen's Land Model Bench. I'm Dan, and to another kit review, and today we're going to be looking at the Lindberg Roswell UFO with alien crew. That's very important, so that someone's there to steer it. Recommended for years 8 and over, so I do qualify, I think. And interestingly enough, Lindberg have been kind enough to tell us that this is actually a 1/48 scale kit, so they've actually got sources apparently, because they've been able to work out the measurements to scale, which is pretty exciting. This kit is a bonus kit because we also get a alien grey figure model, nearly 8 inches or 20 centimeters tall, which is pretty exciting. I believe both of these kits actually are available separately, so this is sort of like a bundled one, and I picked this up from a local hobby shop at a fairly reasonable price, a bit cheaper than what I could get them online. Apparently made in the USA. Has a skill level of 2, requires some glue, and could be a little bit challenging. I'm not sure if that's to do with the subject matter or with the difficulty of building the kit. On the sides we can see the alien itself is made in China, but the packaging is made in the United States. We have a picture of the actual completed kit, so we can see the interior there. We have a crew, it looks like, of 5. So they're very busy. On the sides there, basically just a repeat of what's on the top of the box. Again, repeat there. If I spin it over, it's actually got the same details on the bottom of the box, so it doesn't matter which way you actually put this in or on the shelf. You're going to see it on both sides, which is kind of interesting. Alright, let's see if we can figure out how to get this thing open, which could be interesting. I think that's the bottom of the box. So we'll try cutting along here and see what happens. Okay, so this is an interesting box. It actually has a hinge on the back there, so it doesn't come off completely. You just open it up like that, and here's the contents of the kit. So we'll put that aside for a moment. We'll start off with what's on the top. Oh yes, so we've got our alien. We've got our spaceship. Some clear pieces there for the spaceship look of things. Oh cool, we've actually got a base to actually put our UFO on, which is nice. Some decals. And then right down the bottom, we've got some instructions. So as always, we'll start with the instructions and then work our way around to the rest of the kit. Okay, so on the front page here, we've got it quite clearly indicated this is 1/48 scale. We've got a little bit about the Roswell incident in New Mexico in 1947. And how Lindberg Models is very proud to bring our very own Roswell craft in model form. Also included is our alien grey model, based on accounts of the fatally wounded and surviving flight crew described by witnesses to the Roswell crash. Okay, so it's a bit of reading there, I'll look at that later. Inside we've got some usual sort of disclaimers and cautionary notes. We do have a colour guide, which is nice, and they're recommending Testors paints here, but they've got silver, flat grey, gloss black and light blue as the recommended colours. The instructions themselves are printed in black and white. The drawings are fairly basic, but I've got a feeling the kit's fairly basic, so it'll probably work out just fine. So it looks like we're starting off with putting in some clear pieces from the look of things. Maybe not. No, we might be putting together parts of the cockpit from the look of things to go on the front. Then we're doing the tail sections on each end there. So they're interesting design. Then we're going on to do the cockpit in step 7. So we're building all the seats, doing a bit more work on those in step 8. Looks like we're doing some placement of more seats in step 9. Step 10, we're cutting some pieces out. Oh, that's if we want to have our display base, which is fair enough. Step 11, we're then taking the whole cockpit sub-assembly, so that's kind of nice. You'll be able to detail that or paint it, or if you're so inclined you want to light it up, then I think that will work really well. Step 12, if you'd like to have a crew, you can start working on those, and then we have a painting guide for them, which is very thoughtful. Then in step 13, we're going to pop our little greys inside, and then we're going to seal up the UFO. Step 14 is basically a bit of a colour guide, I think, from the look of things there. And in step 16 we're doing the final assembly, which is putting a piece on top. It looks like that piece is actually designed to be removable. So if you want to take it off so you can show people the work you've done inside the cockpit, you can. And then of course step 15 there had the display base if you want to put your UFO on that. It's really nice they include the display base. I do like that feature, and it's something I no doubt will use. Then over this side we have a printout for the large 20-inch tall grey alien, which as you'd expect is a pretty basic kit. So we've got front and back for the torso, we've got front and back for the arms, and we've got a front and back for the head. And he also comes with a small sort of moon base style base there for him to stand on. So pretty straightforward assembly there. Most of your time on the alien is going to be on painting it. Okay, on the back we've got some promotional materials for other kits that are in the range. So we have a unassembled alien, which I have a feeling is actually the one, that one there I think is what we actually got. It is. So we already got that one as part of this kit. But we don't have a transparent alien, so that's obviously going to have to come on the shopping list at some point. And we've also got an Area 51 UFO, which is looking very funky, with the sort of classic saucer sort of shape. Okay, so that's the instructions. As we'd expect, it's a fairly basic assembly sequence. Let's have a bit of a look at the kit itself. So we'll start with our 20-inch tall alien. Okay. So all the parts come in one plastic bag. We do have a sheet with this as well, which is a repeat of the instructions, which is, there's a good indication that this is basically a separate kit that they've just bundled in there, because it actually has its own instructions. Alright, let's have a look at the pieces. Now this kit is made in China, and dare I say it, I can feel it in the plastic. It's got a very similar feel. If you go back and have a look at my kit review for the Baronese Fundecker Fokker from Revell, that kit was made in China and it had a very similar feeling plastic to this one. So what does that mean? It means it's a little bit prone to scratching. So what I found with the Fundecker kit is I had to go back and polish all the parts before I painted them. So I suspect that will also be true of this particular kit, although at least you don't have as many parts to actually sand, so it should be relatively straightforward. The hand detail is, and I mean, I don't know quite how you, I honestly don't quite know how you review this, because how do I know what a hand detail on an alien is supposed to look like? But it looks okay. It needs a bit of flash there. There is a injector pin mark there. It'll have to be sanded out. So there's a little bit of sanding to do. The kit is branded Lindberg here on the bottom, but I thought, I could be wrong, that this originally was a Testors kit, or at least the other part was. I'm not sure about this bit. Anyway, it's all there. He looks to be wearing a spacesuit, by the way, so he's not nude. He has got a few creases in his uniform down the bottom there, but anyway. But he does look to be having a uniform on, so it looks like he's got a spacesuit that goes down to at least here, and then his feet are sort of sticking out a bit like a sort of surfer wearing a wetsuit. Anyway, that's that piece. Oh, the base, by the way, there is indentation for his feet, which is nice. And yeah, it's got like a lunar style, or maybe it's supposed to be a desert. It could be either, I guess, depending how you want to paint it. Sort of landscape there. On to the other piece. We've got his back, obviously. He's keeping in good shape. That's always good to see when you're travelling along.
Exercise that'll keep you fit and smiling, sugar. Swing that arm. There you go.
His head detail, which is probably one of the more important pieces for us because that's the bit that everyone's going to be looking at, is quite nicely done. So he's got nicely recessed but bulged eyes, tiny little mouth and nose, which is sort of your typical sort of look that they give grey aliens. He's got a fairly bulbous head. He has no hair or anything like that. So as a consequence, once you attach the rear of his head, you're going to have to spend a bit of time sanding the joints to make it all nice and smooth. Otherwise, it'll kind of spoil the model a bit, I suspect. We've also got the other arm here as well. So interesting enough, these parts are branded Tester. So there we go. I thought they were Tester kit. So it's Tester kit 761A is still written actually on the sprue there. I wonder if it was on the other one. Yes, it is. That was 761B. So, but the base very much says Lindberg, which is interesting. So I don't know if this was a joint, because they haven't erased the Tester, I don't know whether this was some sort of a joint kit. Maybe both manufacturers were involved, or Lindberg's just repopping this. I don't know. But either way, he looks okay. I think he should be fine with, he's really going to come down to how much time and care you put into sanding and polishing the finish and then putting a nice paint job on him as to how he's going to look. Also included is of course the UFO, and the UFO is in completely different packaging, which is interesting. So again, I think we've just got two older kits that have been popped out, and then at some point Lindberg has decided they would just throw them into one box and bundle them as a pair, which is a good thing. So I got a better deal that way. This UFO looks very sort of reminiscent of the sort of 60s sci-fi look that was very popular at the time. I don't know when the kit was made. Maybe we'll find a copyright date on it. I'm just having a quick look to see if I can see one. I can see a manufacturer mark, but like a model serial number or something, but I can't see. Oh, here we go. Yep, this is a Testors kit as well. So this is from copyrighted 1997. So big scheme of things, I guess, relatively new kit. Never been a particularly big fan of Tester kits, to be honest, because a lot of their kits were pretty rubbish. A lot of the older sort of manufacturers' kits that were reissued. But this is a very simple design, so I think provided the fit's okay, it shouldn't be too bad. So this piece I'm holding up here is the underneath of the spacecraft, and it's got like these little tiles, a bit like you have on the shuttle. Presumably that's so it can go into the atmosphere. It's just broken away at the top here from the actual sprue, which will need a little bit of tidying up, but it looks okay. We've also got the two sort of winglet type extensions there as well, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little crewmen who are tiny. And they've got little chests. They're actually these guys are working out. They're actually pretty buff. Unfortunately for them, they also have big sick marks in the middle of their chest. At least 3 of them do. So a little bit of fill is going to be needed there. The head shape and everything is actually different to the other alien, by the way. So they are a different interpretation. I think they're meant to be greys as well, but they're obviously a different interpretation of them. But they're fine. They'll fit in the cockpit okay. Nothing terribly exciting about them, but they're good. Going on to the second sprue, and there's not a lot of in this kit as I indicated before. We've got the top surfaces of the UFO, which are dead smooth. There is a little bit of scuffing on the plastic here, so a little bit of polishing is going to be required if you're going to put a metal finish on this kit, which I'll be doing. So you will need to spend a little bit of time just getting those scratches out of it. No real detail as such. There's some slight sink marks too, actually towards the front of the top as well. So a little bit of preparation is going to be required there. It's definitely looking like a Testors kit to me. Anyway, it should be okay. The seats for our little guys are quite large compared to the aliens themselves. They do have injection pin markings, but they're in a location that should be hidden by the little guys if you fit them to the seats. If you don't, you'll have to do a little bit of filling. The actual interior detail of the cockpit is actually pretty poor. I don't know. I mean, obviously, who knows what this is supposed to look like inside, but there is no sort of side panels or anything like that at all. So the kit's really dependent on decals and on your imagination. So some modelers may like to add some wires and other bits and pieces in there, I suspect, just to try and make it look a little bit more busy. It's very plain in there. That's about it. The interior, looking inside the top piece of the UFO too, there's I guess you could call it a little bit of detail, but not a lot. But that's okay. So really it's a lot of license there for the modeler to add some detail into that cockpit, if you like, to make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's have a look at our clear pieces. The first one here is the display base, which is molded in clear. It's wasn't in any sort of protective plastic or anything like that. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect. It's a bit cloudy, to be honest, but it's okay. I mean, it'll look fine when you put the model on it and put that on your desk or what have you. I don't think it's going to be a big drama. So I'll probably leave it like that, but of course you could always paint it as well if you don't like the clear finish. So at least you've got that option. Moving on to the clear pieces for the UFO itself. Okay, they're moulded on the one sprue, and they are much better than the display base, thankfully. They're actually pretty good. They're actually pretty good. No real complaints about those. They got some slight imperfections in them, but really, given the type of kit we're building here and the amount of detail that's inside there anyway, I'm not going to complain about that. I think that looks fine. There's some smaller clear pieces here as well that are supposed to go into the cockpit area. So that could make it a little bit interesting when it comes to painting. I don't know, we don't really have a paint guide, do we, as such? A little bit of one, but basically the way that the kit's intended to be, there'll be a clear piece over here, and then this whole section here will be clear, so you can see the little guys sitting at their consoles or sightseeing or whatever they're doing, looking for cows. So overall, not too bad. Let's have a final piece, which of course is the decals, and see what we've got there. So, okay, so we've got some instrument panels with some squiggles on them, which is fair enough, I guess. We don't have the prototype to reference, so we'll just have to assume that that's okay. Looks like some of the panels are designed to have their little hands on them, illustrations of their hands where they're supposed to go. The decals seem to be printed just fine. I think they should go on okay. We've also got a really nice little details piece here, which has got the details about the Roswell crash, as it's alleged to have happened on the 4th of July 1947, with some details about the length of the craft, how many it's seated, and so on. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be actually affixed to something. I didn't see that in the instructions from memory, but let's just go back and double check that. That's kind of interesting. No, I can't see any indication of where that decal's supposed to go, so I think you're either going to have to stick it on the bottom of the model if you want to have the information at hand, or you may have to build some kind of display base to put that on. But I'm just wondering if it's meant to look like it's the same profile as the... No, it's not really the same profile as the kit, so yeah, I think they've given that to you as a bonus, so you can either ignore that, or you can find somewhere to fit it on the kit, or you can put it on something else. I don't think you couldn't even really put it on the base. So that's a bonus if you want to use it. Okay, so that's pretty much wraps up my review of the Lindberg Roswell UFO with bonus alien. I can't really comment on the level of detail and whether it's particularly good because I don't have any books from MiG or anyone like that about the actual prototype spacecraft or aliens. But as a fun kit to build, I think it looks absolutely fine. I think there'll be a little bit of work to deal with some of the plastics that are in it, and you may want to add a little bit extra detail here and there just to make it a little bit more interesting. If you've got any spare parts from aircraft kits and bits of electrical wire and stuff like that, I think you can have a field day with that kit and really make quite an interesting interior. But for what it is and for the price I paid for it, which was Australian $39.95, I think it's not too bad and should be a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed the review, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.